So the Batman is the latest iteration of the Batman character to arrive on the big screen. It just seems that every time they reboot it, they try to get a little bit darker, a little bit more into the sense of what Batman would really be like in a real world. And this one brings along a massive cast of particularly great characters, a different take on the Batman, and one that I particularly liked. Now, I saw this and liked it a lot. I had some misgivings about the actual movie, and I went back and seen it again just to see how I really felt about the movie on a second watch. And 2 hours 56 minutes, it is a long movie, but it never really feels like that. There is a moment in the final third where it starts to take a little bit of a dip for 10 minutes or so, but for the longest while, it is a remarkably assured and well-paced film. This is a movie that deals with a sort of younger Batman, a Batman that's still trying to find his footing of what he wants to do. He has an idea that he's vengeance. He wants to put fear into the criminals. And although he is achieving that, it's still not helping Gotham. It's still not helping them with their crime problem, with their corruption problem, with the drug issue that's going on in the streets. And in this Gotham, it is a town that had so much hopes and possibilities. A town that has a city that has now come asunder under its weight of the corruption and the criminal element. The streets are filled with rubbish. The people are broke, without work. They're struggling to survive. And it becomes almost clash issues throughout the movie, which can be seen to be a real world topic at the moment as well. And it kind of fits within the story itself. When we meet Batman, of which this movie is called The Batman, we spend a bulk of the time with this character. Rarely do we see any of Bruce Wayne, and when we do, there's not so much of a split nature between these characters. You've got a feeling that Bruce Wayne is almost a more sullen version of Batman, you know, without the protection of his cowl and outfit. He is still as moody, still as withdrawn, and still as driven as he is whenever he's the Batman. It's a character that doesn't speak an awful lot throughout the movie. In fact, a lot of the dialogue is brought throughout stunted sentences to get his point across in the minimum words he has to, or whether it's a kind of voiceover narration, like an old noir movie as he investigates the crimes that are going on. I kind of like that aspect a lot about the Batman, with him just investigating and working with the Gotham police, which is one of my favourite aspects of the movie. He is with Gordon a lot. He's the one police officer that kind of knows what he can do and allows him into the police force to see crime scenes and that. But this is a much maligned character, one that is not embraced by the people, and one that is definitely not embraced by the police force. In fact, they shun and kind of pick on him almost at times, making snide comments and looks and glances and mumbling comments as he walks past. And being brought into the almost lion's den for a couple of sequences is a really nice addition, and I like that inclusion. I don't think it's something we've really seen before, where he's actually part of the investigation, and that's what makes it incredibly fun for me, watching this character being a detective of sorts. And although for the most part it's pretty lo-fi, there is one nice aspect to do with contact lenses that I really kind of liked. A little bit of modern tech within this movie that doesn't really have a lot of that. And Pattinson is really sullen, channeling his inner 90s grunge emo version of himself. And to be honest, is a character that's focused on one thing, that is struggling to deal with the rest of life, has just blocked that out, and everything is driven towards the Batman character, and everything else can fall asunder for all he cares, because he's just so gloomy. But as an overall arc, I think it's a nice introduction to the character. It's a nice setup of the character. It's a character whom throughout the movie we see grow in the eyes of Gotham and in the villains, and hopefully we'll move into the sequels and we'll see him expanded a little bit more in that point. Now we get several other characters as well. Jeffrey Wright, an actor who I've always really appreciated, always liked, does wonderful job as Gordon. He is a man who seems to be the one kind of shining light within the Gotham Police Department. He is a good cop, someone that trusts Batman, and they work together a lot throughout the movie, having their little tete-a-tetes conversations next to the light as they try to figure out their next move is really great. It's a wonderful relationship, and they kind of know that they need each other to try and fix this city and what they can do with it. One more thing about the Batman that I really kind of liked is his fallibility. He isn't perfect. When he's in fights, he gets hit, he gets beat a lot, but he is brutal and violent and is really vicious when he's beating up the criminal element, taking it just that little bit too far. But like I said, he gets beat up himself. He does get punched and bashed around a lot. And you see with Gordon that they have a relationship where they rely on each other. They try to help each other a lot, even though they know that the world of adversity that's going around, they try to do the greater good. And I think that Gordon shows a sense of forthrightness as he tries to bring justice to this place of pure corruption. You get Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and I really kind of like this iteration of it as well. She is a woman who has had a troubled childhood, who knows her womanly ways and how to use them to manipulate men to get what she wants, doing it with various criminal elements or even with the Batman himself. She is a woman who can handle herself in many fight sequences. Although they do seem as if they're sped up ever so slightly, they are wonderfully staged and executed, and Kravitz, who's such a small diminutive character, really handles herself and uses that to her advantage against much bigger foes throughout the movie. And we do get to see a little bit of the car burglary element that she has within it as well. Now there is some criminal elements as well in this one. We of course have the Riddler, played by Paul Dano, who is a very traumatized character, someone who is using the anger within the world to kind of bolster and help him achieve what he wants to achieve. And this unbridled violence that is unleashed from this character is truly kind of disturbing at points, and I do think it's a really great performance. It's minimal within the movie, and there's some truly great scare factor moments, particularly in the opening scene within the shadows where you first catch a glimpse of the Riddler. It's a very effective, and for the most part I kind of like that performance, except when he's unmasked at the end and goes a little bit, in my eyes, over the top, and you can feel it being performancey rather than like a natural extension of the character in my eyes, but that's just a minor quibble there. You get some gangsters with John Turturro as Falcone, and particularly Colin Farrell as the Penguin, who is unrecognisable and absolutely wonderful within the movie. Such an abrasive character, gluttonous, disgusting, vicious, says things to get reactions and takes pleasure in other people's displeasure, and you see that kind of oozing out this character in an absolutely wonderful performance. Now this is going to lead in to a sort of Penguin series almost, and I can't wait to see that because it was such a great setup of a character who does really well throughout the film. And John Turturro as Falcone is just menacing. You know, a character that turns up, doesn't really have to do anything, delivers these little speeches and just a couple of sentences, but leaves you with that icky feeling of something horrible that's going on. Gotham in this one is a town, like I said, that's run down. It's a town that is in constant rain. It's just the rain-stroked streets just add to the effect of the movie. It feels very much like a town that's just going to be washed away with the constant rain that's going on, but it all adds to the effect of the movie, and it offers some great reflections in the lighting and the way that's used, and some of the additional lighting that's used within the film to manipulate certain scenes, to highlight certain things, is wonderful. The score itself is just one of the stars of the show, opening up with that massive theme that it has. It is just such a heart-pounding sense of excitement. It is thrilling. It's rather ominous in the way it delivers that kind of beats. Like I said, Batman, when he is introduced into the film visually, there's a long build up to it. You hear this footsteps kind of clinking along, which happens a couple of times in the movie, and it almost sounds as if there's like spurs on the character, like an old Western character. You know, you can almost hear them spinning when he walks. It's like a metallic chink that happens in the scene in the train station, or the scene where he's walking towards the Penguin's car later on. I love that because I'm a Western kind of fan. There's like a twang of a guitar in those sequences as well, and just hearing the clink of the metal was wonderful. I thought it was terrific. I really liked, for the most part, the Batman. I feel as if there's a couple of scenes that I just didn't like. There's a sequence near the end of the movie where Batman goes to Falcone and gets told a story, instantly believes it, who then goes to Alfred, who gets another story that completely discounts the previous one and instantly believes it. It's a detective who jumps to the conclusions, not using the evidence in these kind of sequences, that just kind of grated me, and particularly the scene with Alfred in the hospital just felt like it was dragged on, it was uninteresting, and both times it's a kind of scene where I tune out a little bit. The action is exemplary, the fight scenes are wonderful and brutal and visceral. The lighting, I think, is superb in this one. Cinematography, stunning, the score is amazing, and the performances for the most part are really good. I really enjoyed the Batman. It fits very comfortably into my love of noirish movies as well, with the voiceover, and the fact that it's set over 7 days as well was a really nice conceit that I really enjoyed within the movie. And when you get to the end of it, I love the changes that's happened with the Batman and how he's now perceived by the people. People kind of aren't afraid of him anymore, where they are throughout most of the movie, because he is perceiving himself to be just retribution against the criminals rather than something that's trying to lift the city up. I'm really curious how they're going to grow the character in the second movie. I think it is something that's going to be exciting, and I love the detective noirish, darker mood that we have here. It's really well done. It's a fun movie, and one that I think should be seen in the cinema. I'd love to know your opinion of this one. Let me know in the comment box what you liked and didn't like, how you feel it fits into other Batman movies. And of course, there's more content up here if you want to see more of my stuff. There is a like button below this video. If you click that like button, it means that there's probably going to be a Batman 2. Now, I'm sure it's not they're going to judge it on whether I get a lot of likes, but it would be nice if it happened. And you can join the Patreon and the membership program if you want to see more of my stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Man v Film.